Hello everyone. This is more or less going to be a video response to MegaCapitalGs video about whether or not Lavalval Chain should be banned. And I'm gonna be uploading this to my own channel since video response themselves aren't really a thing anymore since YouTube took them away. But yeah, this is going to be a defense of Lavalval Chain in my opinion. I understand that Lavalval Chain is used in a lot of combos and a lot of top tier decks. It's used in the Jin lock, and that if Lavalval Chain was banned, then the only real way that I see Necros pulling off the Jin lock is either, running a Foolish Burial, obviously, or running Fiend Griefing. And I definitely don't see them running Fiend Griefing anytime soon, to be honest. I'm just stating that as an option for them. Um, I think if anything, it would completely phase out the Jin lock from Necros, as it's almost already completely phased out in top tier events, especially in the mirror, since so many people main deck outs to it. Um, Other than that, I know Lavalval Chain is used in OTK loops such as, or the blue-blooded Oni OTK loop. I know it was used in Infernities, obviously, but if you've seen my recent ban list discussion video, I don't like it when Konami bans when they're trying to hit an archetype, they hit the non-archetype support instead of the archetype itself. Now, in regards to Infernities, they did okay with that. They hit Soul Charge, which really stopped Infernities, but Soul Charge was already pretty broken. Um, but they didn't hit Lavalval Chain, and Lavalval Chain was one of the main cards that they would go into. Dump that Stygian or whatever they needed. Um, but they didn't ban that. They banned the actual Infernity monsters over a course of time to really stop Infernities. But I don't see how how we would benefit now from banning Lavalval Chain. Um, it would stop the Jin lock, but honestly, that's not so much of a big deal as they really just need to stop the Jin monster. Um, Now they could easily, either just ban the Jin, which would stop it in its tracks because that card itself is pretty degenerate. Any card that says you can't play your opponent can't play Yu-Gi-Oh is a pretty degenerate card in my opinion. Um, so to move on, a lot of people will equate Lavalval Chain to Foolish Burial, and that's pretty understandable because Foolish Burial sends one monster, whereas Lavalval Chain can send any card from your deck. Um, Now, it's not very often that people will send a spell or a trap. I'm known to in my Battery Man to ditch a Mischief of the Gnomes, but that's about it. I think Infernoids can utilize it as well, potentially, but other than that, most of the time you're going to be end up sending a monster to the grave. Um, so a lot of people will say that Lavalval Chain is a better version of Foolish Burial, and that Foolish Burial is at 1, so obviously a better version of it should definitely be hit too. Well, I really think that's pretty irrelevant. Um, the fact that Foolish Burial is at 1. The reason why is because Foolish Burial is a spell card. Okay, it's a spell, meaning that you can activate it from your hand, and if they don't have any sort of spell negation or any sort of, you can't send cards from your deck to the grave, anything like that, then Foolish Burial is going to go through. Okay, there's not much that can stop it. There's not much in the way of it. Um, and it's just, if Foolish Burial was at 3, so many decks would become really, really good. Dark Worlds could potentially be really, really good. It just, it's fairly obvious. It's so much faster than Lavalval Chain. Lavalval Chain, in order to get him out, you need 2 level 4 monsters. Now, most of the time, what you're going to need, what's going to be seen played, is some sort of monster that gets out another monster. Now, these 3 that I have on here are monsters that when they're summoned, they special summon another level 4. Um, Now I know I just put Altair up there just as an example. Um, I know in Infernities that's not really how they used it, or they didn't have monsters that when it's normal summon special summon another one from your hand or grave or something like that. But I'm just using this as an example. Right there, just the fact that a majority of the time when Lavalval Chain is going to be has seen played out, it's going to be in one turn. It's not going to be a monster that um, stayed on board very long. Now, the only time that it's really applicable is with hands. And if you don't have an out to the hands, which most people probably don't nowadays, Necros pretty much do, just because Ice Hand doesn't really affect them, so that is an inherent out, in my opinion. But the fact that they need a monster to get it out in one turn in order for them to even get it out means that it's extremely susceptible to all of these traps. Any sort of effect negation and any sort of summon negation or summon destruction or summon just stopping the summon or stopping the effect. And all of these cards are, well, with the exception of Compulse, Bottomless, Trap Hole, Time Space Trap Hole, and Trap Trick, Trap Hole Nightmare. All of those are cards that aren't really ran, but everything else, Torrential, Solemn Warning, Breakthrough Skill, Fiendish Chain, Effect Veiler, those are all cards that are played a lot. If not main decked, they're side decked at least. I think Torrential and Solemn Warning are probably the only cards that aren't really ran at all. Maybe Effect Veiler because it is a hand trap, but I've seen a lot of Necros main deck it. I think, I may be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure the Necros deck that won the 150th YCS was main decking Veiler. I think I cannot, don't hold me to that. But yeah, just on the monster that would bring out another monster, there's already an opportunity to prevent a Lavalval Chain play. So once that happens, if that does go through, if you do let that go through, and they bring out another monster, well, then you can potentially stop the Lavalval Chain summon in itself. Just again with Solemn Warning, Torrential Tribute, Compulse, Bottomless Trap Hole, Time Space Trap Hole, and Trap Tricks Trap Hole Nightmare. Now, I mainly bring up these last 4 just because in MegaCapitalGs video he brought up hat decks and how I think in the final between Corey McDuffie and Dion Akridge, the hat mirror, they would go into Lavalval Chain and use its effect to stack Dianea. So in a hat deck, these cards are searchable with Myrmelio. All 4 of these cards are searchable. So they would see use in that. Now, Trap Hole obviously, wouldn't, but they would see use in hat decks, obviously. So that alone can stop it. Now, whether or not you think that you should save your resources for something else, for something more prevalent, or for something more of a threat, then that's your own choice. Regardless, you have the opportunity to stop a Lavalval Chain in a hat deck with these 4 cards. Any other deck can run any of these. And, hat decks, I'm pretty sure, run these regardless. So, I think that argument is a little null. So, that's just for summon negation. Now, once it gets summoned, and if that summon goes through and they activate its effect, then once again, you have multiple ways to stop it, via Breakthrough Skill, Fiendish Chain, or Effect Veiler. Now, all of these are cards that are used a lot, like I've stated. These are cards that are used a lot in top tier play. Now, maybe not so in like Necros or Burning Abyss, but I know Cleese will run some sort of effect negation. Hell, Cleese can probably run enough back row to where you're not even going to be able to go into Lavalval Chain. I'm fairly positive they main deck Skill Drain, so that's not even really going to be an issue too much for them. So there's so many opportunities to stop Lavalval Chain whereas there's not many opportunities to stop Foolish Burial. Now, maybe in the past when samurais were a thing, where 6 Sams were a thing, and people would go into an Anchuria Beast really fairly often, then yeah, that was a format where Foolish Burial could easily, not go through. But at the moment, there's not many times where Foolish Burial is not going to go through. Whereas nowadays with Lavalval Chain, if you're facing a deck that is going to benefit a lot off of Lavalval Chain, you're going to stop that. If you see a Necros deck go into Lavalval Chain and you have a face down Fiendish Chain, or you have an in-hand Effect Veiler, or a face down Breakthrough Skill, you're probably going to want to stop that. Now, for the argument where they brought up during the time that they already have the Jinlock out, they've already ditched that releaser of rituals, and they've already gotten out the Clausulus for the Jinlock, and next turn, they activate its second effect to stack a Manju or a Sinju or a Brio. I feel like that's highly irrelevant, because if you're at the point where you can't get over the Jinlock, you've probably already lost. Your chances of coming back from that are maybe, if you don't main deck, or if you don't run any out to it, you're screwed. You've lost already at that point. You might as well scoop at that point, because especially if it's like late game and you've already drawn maybe like your one Raigeki that you run, or anything like that, then you might as well scoop at that point, because you're not getting over it. That Lavalval Chain effect isn't relevant to the game state, because you're still gonna lose due to the Jinlock, not the Lavalval Chain. So if you do run a Jinlock out, then if you're in the mirror, then you run a lot of outs to it. They're running reinforcements in the army, which can search a Bull Blader or an Exiled Force or a DD Warrior Lady, whichever the one of those three that they run. I know for a fact they main deck the Book of Eclipses, which is already an out. They run Raigeki. There's just so many outs that the Necros themselves run to face against the Jinlock. And because of that, the Jinlock is almost being phased out just from the mirror alone. And against other decks that, aren't Necros, again, they run several outs to it. That it's just, I don't see the point of how, I don't see how relevant Lavalval Chain's second effect is to stack once they've already gotten the Jinlock out. That's not relevant, because you're most likely going to lose once they have the Jinlock out, because if they have the opportunity to get to that second effect, then the most likely that means you passed, which means you don't have an out to it, which means you're probably going to lose regardless of whether or not they activate that second effect. And once again, that second effect will only kick in once they draw for their next turn, which means there's 2 turns right there that you have to potentially stop the Jinlock. And if you don't, then you're definitely going to lose. But if you went 2 turns and you don't have an out to the Jinlock, you're probably you're gonna lose. I'm gonna guess like 80 to 85% chance that you've already lost the game right there if you go 2 turns not being able to stop the Jinlock. Other than that, Lavalval Chain has so many opportunities for it to be stopped, whereas Foolish Burial really doesn't. So the comparison between the two is really silly, and the stacking effect isn't anything that is too relevant in my opinion. I just don't think I don't see why people would think that Lavalval Chain should be banned when it's so silly. I feel like a lot of it is just salt. A lot of people not really thinking too hard about potential consequences of it, and the fact that they're just salty about the Jinlock, and maybe some residual salt from Infernities. Because I know a lot of people were really salty at Infernities. I mainly didn't like Infernities just because of how long of turns they took. Other than that, I liked the mechanics. I liked the fact that they could do that. It was a pretty cool combo and everything. But I just didn't like how long it took. Um, Other than that, again, I don't think if you're going to hit an archetype or hit something, don't hit the non-archetype support. The only time I'm in favor of that is hitting Royal Magical Library, and everybody should know, and everybody should agree with me when I say Royal Magical Library is a lot more of a degenerate card than Lavalval Chain could ever really be. So yeah, that's my video. That's my video response, I guess. I'll see you guys later.